The room was quiet except for the soft hum of equipment and the occasional shuffle of shoes on polished hardwood. Detective Mason stood near the doorway, watching as the forensic team moved carefully through the spacious living room of the mansion. The walls were pristine, the expensive furniture untouched, and the air smelled faintly of cleaning agents. Each technician wore gloves and masks, their eyes scanning every surface. Agent Harper crouched by the large bay window, running a white-gloved hand over the sill. "No fingerprints here," she said, her voice low but steady. She examined the glass closely, then stood and moved toward the sofa, checking underneath the cushions. The team had expected to find some trace. Fiber, hair, even a faint footprint, but there was nothing. Not a single clue. Mason walked over to a technician who was dusting a marble coffee table. "Anything so far?" he asked. The technician shook his head. "No prints, no fibers, no blood, no skin cells. It's like someone wiped everything clean." Agent Harper nodded. "Every surface, even the floor, looks untouched." She gestured to a small area near the baseboard along the far wall. "I'm going to check there." She knelt down, shining her flashlight along the edge where the wall met the floor. Her fingers traced the gap carefully, moving slowly. Then something caught her eye, a tiny glint of metal tucked beneath the baseboard. She reached in and pulled out a small metal screw, about half an inch long. It was slightly worn but clean, its silver surface catching the light. She turned it over in her gloved hand, frowning. "Detective Mason," Harper called softly. "You need to see this." Mason stepped over, looking down at the screw. "That doesn't belong here," he said after a moment. The mansion's interior was all polished wood and marble. A loose metal screw didn't fit the style or maintenance standards. Harper nodded. "I thought the same. Looks like something industrial, not residential." The others gathered around, their expressions shifting from routine focus to alert curiosity. The room that had seemed completely sterile suddenly held a new possibility. The single screw, hidden beneath the baseboard, stood out sharply against the flawless surfaces. It was the first real piece of evidence anyone had found. Harper's fingers traced the outline of the baseboard where the screw had been discovered, her mind racing through the possibilities. This tiny anomaly, so easily overlooked, suddenly felt like the key to unraveling the silent enigma that had gripped them all. It was as if this one small detail whispered secrets the room itself was desperate to keep hidden. The air thickened with anticipation, each breath drawn heavier with the weight of unspoken questions. They all sensed it. This was no ordinary space, no mere backdrop to daily life. There was a story waiting to be uncovered, buried beneath layers of polished surfaces and sterile calm. As the team exchanged glances, the atmosphere shifted from quiet observation to collaborative urgency. Every instinct told them to dig deeper, to follow this thread wherever it might lead. Yet, amidst this shared resolve, a subtle connection formed between them, the unspoken understanding that they were not just investigating a mystery, but participating in something larger. Each of their perspectives, experiences, and insights mattered in this unfolding puzzle. And that's why your voice here is so important. If what you're hearing sparks a memory, a feeling, or even a question, don't hesitate to share it. When you leave a comment, you become part of this journey, contributing to the collective discovery that makes this space more than just a screen. If this moment resonates with you, let us know what struck you the most, what detail or thought made you pause. Your reflections don't just stay here. They ripple outward, helping others see the story through new eyes. And if you find value in exploring these hidden truths with us, a simple like goes a long way in fueling the passion behind this channel. It's your support that keeps the narrative alive, encouraging us to delve deeper, to bring you more stories that challenge and inspire. By subscribing, you're not just signing up for more content. You're joining a community that thrives on curiosity and connection. Together, we turn every discovery into a shared experience, every insight into a conversation that expands beyond the screen. So, if this unfolding mystery stirs something within you, stay with us. There's more to uncover, and your presence here makes all the difference. The mansion was owned by Charles Whitman, a 58-year-old entrepreneur known within certain circles for his involvement in high-stakes financial dealings. Whitman's public persona was that of a successful real estate investor, but behind closed doors, he orchestrated a complex scheme involving illicit money transfers and fraudulent investment portfolios. Over a period of several years, Whitman had manipulated shell companies and falsified financial statements to funnel millions of dollars into offshore accounts. His operation relied on a network of intermediaries who handled the logistics of laundering and hiding the origin of the funds. On the night of the incident, Whitman had gathered several associates in the mansion study to finalize a deal that would consolidate control over a significant asset portfolio. Tensions escalated during the meeting as disagreements arose over the distribution of profits and exposure to law enforcement scrutiny. The confrontation ended violently, with one of the participants fatally wounded. The victim's blood was spattered across the dark hardwood floor, and signs of a struggle were evident in the displaced furniture and broken glass. Additionally, scattered documents lay on the desk and floor, including printed bank statements, encrypted USB drives, and handwritten notes detailing account numbers and transaction records. Recognizing the potential legal repercussions and the risk of exposure, the remaining conspirators decided to engage a professional crime scene cleaner. Their objective was to erase all physical evidence that could link them to the crime or the underlying financial fraud. The cleaner arrived under strict confidentiality, equipped with industrial-grade cleaning agents, UV light scanners, and specialized tools designed to remove biological traces and forensic residues. The cleaning process was methodical and comprehensive. Bloodstains on the floor and walls were treated with enzymatic solutions that break down proteins, followed by multiple rinses to eliminate any residual DNA material. The hardwood floorboards were lifted in some sections to ensure no seepage remained beneath. Surfaces, including the large mahogany desk and leather-bound chairs, were wiped down with disinfectants capable of degrading latent fingerprints and skin cells. Paper documents and electronic devices presented a particular challenge. The cleaner collected all visible papers, which were then shredded and incinerated off-site to prevent reconstruction. Encrypted USB drives and laptops were extracted and subjected to physical destruction methods such as crushing and incineration. Dusting for fingerprints was counteracted by the application of chemical agents that obscure ridge patterns, effectively erasing biometric identifiers. All cleaning activities were executed with precision to avoid leaving new traces that might attract forensic attention. Waste materials, including contaminated cleaning cloths and disposable gloves, were sealed in biohazard bags and removed from the premises. The air filtration system was operated to eliminate any airborne particles related to cleaning agents or biological contaminants. By the end of the process, the study was restored to a state resembling normal use, with no visible signs of the earlier violence or the detailed financial evidence that had been present. The floor was polished, furniture repositioned, and the room aired out to remove any chemical odors. This thorough erasure of physical traces was intended to create a clean slate, complicating any investigative efforts into the incident and the fraudulent operation that had taken place within the mansion's walls. The cleaner operates under a veil of strict anonymity. Known only by coded nicknames depending on the criminal circle, his true identity remains undisclosed. In the underworld, he is referred to as the janitor by some, while others call him Silent Sweep or simply the cleaner. These labels serve as a means of communication that avoids direct reference, minimizing exposure. Contacts are made through encrypted channels, often via intermediaries who arrange meetings in inconspicuous locations. Transactions are cash-based, and instructions are delivered with precision and minimal dialogue to prevent any unnecessary information exchange. His work is defined by meticulous attention to detail. At every scene he attends, the goal is to remove all trace evidence: blood, fingerprints, fibers, electronic data, and chemical residues, with methods that go beyond standard cleaning. He employs industrial-grade solvents combined with experimental enzyme cleaners designed to break down biological material at a molecular level. Surfaces are scrubbed, wiped, and treated repeatedly. In addition to physical cleaning, he uses portable ultraviolet light scanners and chemical detectors to identify residual traces invisible to the naked eye. After treatment, The cleaned area shows no signs of disturbance beyond the faintest alterations in surface texture, easily dismissed as wear and tear. This procedural approach has earned him a reputation among law enforcement as a recurring but unidentified factor in multiple unsolved cases. Investigators have encountered his signature in crime scenes where evidence disappears inexplicably. While the absence of forensic material is not unusual in itself, the uniformity and thoroughness of the erasure point to a single operator. His presence is inferred from the pattern of complete evidence removal rather than direct detection. Examples of locations where his services were employed include a warehouse in East Boston, where a large-scale drug deal turned violent. The scene was left spotless despite reports of multiple gunshots and a struggle. Another case involved a penthouse in downtown Chicago, where a high-profile financial fraud meeting escalated into homicide. The floor, walls, and furniture were all treated before authorities arrived, hindering the collection of fingerprints or DNA. More recently, a crime scene in a suburban home outside Atlanta was wiped clean after an assault linked to organized crime. In each instance, forensic teams found no usable evidence, only subtle anomalies that suggested a professional cleaning operation. The cleaner's methods extend beyond physical removal. In some cases, he has been known to replace or destroy electronic devices that might hold incriminating data. He operates swiftly, typically completing his tasks within hours to avoid detection. Scheduling is flexible, often arranged during off-peak hours or coordinated to match the client's needs without attracting attention. Despite extensive investigations, law enforcement agencies have never managed to identify or apprehend him. Surveillance footage near cleaned scenes rarely captures clear images, as he takes great care to conceal his identity using disguises and avoiding digital traces. His network of contacts remains insulated, and no direct communication has been intercepted. The cleaner's presence in the criminal ecosystem is distinct. He is neither directly involved in the crimes nor an accomplice in their planning. His role is limited to erasing physical evidence post-incident. Criminal groups value his services for the operational security he provides, and law enforcement views him as a significant obstacle in forensic investigations. The absence of recoverable evidence at multiple crime scenes can often be traced back to his involvement, even if his identity remains unknown. In the forensic laboratory, the minute screw was subjected to a systematic examination designed to uncover its origin and potential link to the ongoing investigation. The process began with a thorough material analysis using energy-dispersive X-ray spectroscopy, EDS, coupled with scanning electron microscopy, SEM. This technique provided a precise elemental composition of the screw, revealing it was crafted from a high-grade stainless steel alloy, specifically AISI 316L, known for its corrosion resistance and mechanical strength. Such a choice of material is common in industrial equipment exposed to harsh cleaning chemicals, narrowing the scope of potential applications. Next, investigators conducted a detailed microscopic examination. Under high magnification, the screw's surface showed distinctive manufacturing marks, uniform machining grooves consistent with CNC turning, and a unique head design featuring a recessed hexalobular pattern, commonly known as a Torx plus head. The head bore faint serial markings, microscopically engraved alphanumeric characters along the shank near the head, X7B9Q2. These identifiers were not typical batch numbers but appeared to be traceable codes used by the manufacturer for quality control and tracking. With this information, the forensic team accessed industrial fastener databases maintained by the National Fastener Association and cross-referenced the serial marking pattern and material specifications. The search yielded a match to a specialized batch produced exclusively for a manufacturer of industrial cleaning devices, Cleantech Solutions, a company supplying equipment tailored for hazardous environment sanitation. The screw was identified as a proprietary part used solely in their high-pressure cleaning systems. Further inquiry into Cleantech Solutions sales records was coordinated through legal channels. The company confirmed the batch code corresponded to a limited production run distributed only to certified contractors specializing in industrial cleaning services for chemical plants and refineries. These contractors undergo rigorous vetting and training, and Cleantech maintains a comprehensive list of authorized operators tied to each equipment sale. Investigators obtained this list and began cross-referencing it with known entities linked to the criminal network under scrutiny. The pool of potential owners contracted to operate Cleantech's devices was significantly reduced from hundreds to a focused subset of 5 firms with active contracts in the relevant geographic area. Each firm's operational history and personnel records were examined for connections to the suspect or prior incidents involving evidence tampering. Simultaneously, surveillance data and transactional records were reviewed to determine if any of these contractors had equipment deployed near the locations where the physical evidence had been erased. One contractor's deployment logs showed recent activity within proximity to the crime scenes during the relevant timeframes. This correlation provided a tangible lead linking the screw's origin to an individual or group with access to the specialized cleaning equipment necessary to remove forensic traces. Throughout the process, the forensic team documented every step, ensuring the chain of custody and data integrity remained intact. The identification of the screw's manufacturer and the narrowing of the authorized user list established a direct investigative path from a seemingly insignificant piece of hardware to a specific segment of operators capable of executing the physical evidence removal observed. This finding laid the groundwork for targeted inquiries and surveillance aimed at uncovering the identity of the individual responsible for the forensic obfuscation. Investigators began by examining the single screw found near the East Wing corridor, noting its precise location relative to adjacent walls and fixtures. The screw's position indicated it had been deliberately loosened and removed from a panel located in the nearby utility closet. The panel itself showed no visible damage beyond the missing fastener, suggesting the cleaner had carefully unscrewed it without applying excessive force. The screw's alignment on the floor, partially embedded in a faint smudge of oily residue, allowed agents to infer the cleaner's posture at that moment, likely kneeling or crouching to access the panel. Residue patterns traced along the baseboard near the closet extended into the adjacent hallway. Close examination revealed a faint sequence of overlapping fingerprints, partially obscured by a thin layer of an unusual solvent residue. Chemical analysis confirmed this residue to be a fast-evaporating degreaser, consistent with common fingerprint removal agents. The fingerprints themselves were incomplete, indicating the cleaner wiped over them with a lint-free cloth soaked in the solvent, effectively breaking down the oils but leaving faint outlines where pressure had been uneven. These incomplete prints mapped a path leading from the closet toward the East Wing's main lounge. The absence of typical shoe tread marks on the polished marble floor along this path suggested the cleaner wore specialized footwear. Investigators noted the subtle presence of microfibers in the grout lines, likely from a soft-soled shoe designed to avoid leaving impressions. The cleaner's route, reconstructed through these microfibers and solvent smudges, showed a deliberate movement pattern. Slow, methodical steps with frequent halts adjacent to door frames and furniture edges. Inside the lounge, fabric fibers collected on the corner of a leather armchair indicated the cleaner had brushed against it. The fibers were consistent with those found on the cleaner's own clothing, as later confirmed by textile comparison. Agents deduced the cleaner moved objects carefully, avoiding abrupt contact but allowing incidental brushing to minimize disturbance. Surfaces within the lounge bore no dust displacement or fingerprint residue, confirming the use of nitrile gloves. One glove fragment was found snagged on a metallic edge in the utility closet, matching synthetic polymer composition common in disposable gloves. Investigators also noted the absence of dust disturbance on several horizontal surfaces, including picture frames and decorative items. This suggested the cleaner bypassed these areas or used a microfiber cloth to gently lift any particulate matter without redistributing it. The cleaner's method involved wiping surfaces with solvent-dampened cloths, verified by the presence of faint solvent residues on the edges of furniture legs and windowsills. These residues formed thin, irregular smears consistent with a wiping motion executed with controlled pressure. In the mansion study, the cleaner addressed several paper documents. No smudges or creases were present, indicating the use of rigid tools or supports to handle the papers without bending. Examination of the desk surface revealed small indentations at regular intervals, consistent with the use of a plastic spatula or similar flat instrument to lift papers or tapes without leaving fingerprints. The cleaner likely used this tool to remove adhesive tape residues or to separate sheets without contact. Throughout all rooms, The cleaner's approach to fabric surfaces was consistent. Upholstered furniture showed no sign of hairs, lint, or displaced cushions. This implied the cleaner avoided direct hand contact, possibly using gloves and gently adjusting fabrics with flat tools. Curtains were untouched, while rugs bore no signs of vacuum marks or foot traffic beyond the cleaner's path, confirming a minimal disturbance approach. The lack of typical forensic evidence such as hair, skin cells, or sweat traces suggested the cleaner employed protective clothing covering all exposed skin. Airflow patterns in the mansion were also analyzed to determine dust and particle displacement potential. The cleaner's movement avoided creating air turbulence strong enough to redistribute dust, indicating slow, deliberate pacing. By correlating the screw's removal point, residue traces, glove fragments, and fabric fiber evidence, investigators reconstructed a stepwise process. The cleaner entered the utility closet, unscrewed the panel to access concealed wiring or components, wiped down all touched surfaces with solvent-soaked cloths, handled documents with flat tools, and moved through the mansion along a path minimizing contact with objects and surfaces. The cleaner's tools likely included a precision screwdriver, nitrile gloves, a plastic spatula, microfiber cloths soaked in degreasing solvent, and soft-soled shoes. This reconstruction clarified the cleaner's methodical approach to evidence removal and surface treatment, revealing a controlled, repeatable process designed to eliminate fingerprints and trace materials without disrupting the mansion's environment beyond the minimum necessary. Agent Martinez examined the tiny screw recovered from the floor near the spot where the cleaner had been working. At first glance, it resembled a standard Phillips head fastener, but closer inspection revealed specific manufacturing marks and threading patterns. Martinez handed the screw to technician Lopez, who specialized in mechanical components and equipment for cleaning devices. Lopez placed the screw under a high-powered microscope, measuring its thread pitch, diameter, and head design with digital calipers and imaging software. "This is a 4 to 40 UNC screw," he explained. "It's unusually small for general-purpose use, but common in certain types of precision equipment." He cross-referenced the screw dimensions with the equipment parts database maintained by the Police Technical Division. A match appeared. This particular screw was used primarily in the assembly of negative pressure cleaning devices manufactured by the company CleanVac Systems, model NV3000. Lopez pulled out the repair manuals and exploded diagrams for the NV3000. "These screws secure the motor housing to the main chassis," he said. "Their purpose is to maintain a tight seal around the motor to preserve the vacuum's negative pressure. If one loosens, the seal is compromised, reducing suction efficiency and potentially causing vibration." Martinez asked about reasons why the screw might have loosened during operation. Lopez pointed to a section detailing maintenance protocols. "The NV3000 requires periodic tightening of these screws every 200 hours of operation. The motor's vibrations produce a gradual loosening effect if maintenance is neglected. Also, any impact or excessive movement while the unit is running can cause screws to back out." Lopez further explained that the NV3000's motor produces vibrations at a frequency of approximately 120 Hz, which, combined with the resonance of the housing structure, exerts cyclical forces on the screws. Without proper thread-locking compounds or routine inspection, the risk of loosening increases significantly. The screw's surface also shows slight abrasions consistent with rotational movement before detaching, Lopez noted. This supports the theory that it vibrated loose rather than being forcibly removed. Martinez compiled the information and began comparing the list of NV3000 owners in the vicinity. The police records revealed only 4 registered units matching this exact model within a 5-mile radius. 2 belonged to commercial cleaning companies. 1 was registered to a local pest control firm that used the device for specialized cleaning. The 4th was privately owned by a resident in the neighborhood. The cleaner working in the mansion was known to use industrial-grade equipment, but had never reported owning or renting an NV3000. Given the screw's provenance, Martinez narrowed the suspect list to individuals or entities with access to this specific model. The cleaner's toolbox lacked any replacement screws or thread-locking adhesives compatible with NV3000 parts, suggesting they did not carry out maintenance on this device themselves. Further investigation revealed that one commercial cleaning company had recent service contracts with the mansion's owner, while the pest control firm had been called in shortly before the incident. The private owner of the NV3000 lived 2 blocks away and had no alibi for the time frame in question. Martinez requested maintenance logs from the 2 companies. The commercial cleaning service showed consistent record-keeping, including screw-tightening schedules and equipment inspections. The pest control firm's logs were incomplete and lacked documentation for the NV3000. No maintenance records were available from the private owner. This technical detail, the identification of the screw and its connection to a specific cleaning device prone to mechanical loosening, focused the investigation. The mechanical evidence excluded the majority of cleaning personnel and equipment users, limiting potential suspects to those with documented access to the NV3000 and lapses in maintenance that could explain the screw's failure. Martinez concluded that the screw's detachment was not a random occurrence but a predictable outcome of mechanical failure in a specific model's assembly under certain operational and maintenance conditions. This insight allowed the team to concentrate on the owners and operators of the NV3000 units, refining the search for the source of the screw and its role in the sequence of events at the mansion. The investigative team compiled a list of all recent purchasers of the NV3000 units, tracing transactions through supplier records and purchase orders. Each buyer's identity, business registration, and payment method were cataloged meticulously into a secure database. From the outset, 2 buyers presented as straightforward: established companies with transparent corporate histories, regular bank transactions, and verifiable work sites that matched the equipment's deployment timeline. Agent Cole initiated formal interviews with representatives from these companies, conducted in sterile conference rooms under official protocols. The first company, a large industrial maintenance contractor, provided comprehensive documentation, invoices, employee rosters, and scheduled project plans. Their lead technician, interviewed over 2 sessions, detailed the NV3000's integration into their fleet, corroborated by GPS logs and timestamped service reports. Cross-referencing the company's payments revealed consistent wire transfers from a registered corporate account, with no anomalies in financial records. Phone records showed routine calls to the supplier's support line and standard vendor communications, all aligning with legitimate business operations. The second buyer was a mid-sized engineering firm specializing in infrastructure upgrades. Their interviewee, a project manager with over a decade of industry experience, submitted extensive work orders and client contracts tied to the NV3000's use. Background checks confirmed the firm's licensing, insurance policies, and tax filings. Surveillance footage from public work sites matched their schedule, showing the equipment in active deployment. Payment trails indicated credit transactions through a known financial institution, with no cash or off-the-books dealings. Agent Cole's team cross-verified the firm's employee schedules against recorded movements, confirming authenticity. However, the third buyer diverged sharply from these patterns. Registered under a personal name rather than a corporate entity, this individual's purchase was made entirely in cash, with no trace of bank involvement or credit card use. Attempts to verify a business front returned no valid registrations. Local commercial databases listed no active enterprises linked to the name. Agent Cole reviewed a patchwork of prior job records showing intermittent employment across various unrelated sectors, construction, logistics, and informal labor, with no consistent affiliation or stable income. Subsequent background checks uncovered discrepancies in the individual's stated addresses, with frequent changes over the past 2 years. Phone records revealed numerous short-duration calls to untraceable numbers, often at irregular hours. Surveillance teams discreetly monitored the individual's movements, noting visits to multiple storage facilities and unregistered warehouses in outlying industrial zones. The subject demonstrated evasive behavior, avoiding direct contact and altering routes when observed. Cross-referencing payment schedules with delivery logs highlighted unusual timing. The cash payment for the NV3000 arrived just days before an unlogged maintenance session at a remote location, inconsistent with the equipment's standard servicing cycle. The individual's inconsistent work history, absence of a legitimate business framework, and unorthodox financial transactions collectively raised red flags. The investigative team prioritized deepening the inquiry, coordinating with financial crime units to trace the cash flow and requesting forensic audits of the storage sites. As interviews and surveillance progressed, the contrast between the two corporate buyers and the lone suspicious purchaser grew increasingly stark. While the former adhered to predictable, verifiable patterns of operation, the latter evaded standard oversight and record-keeping. This divergence sharpened the focus on the third individual as a potential nexus point in the unfolding investigation. Agent Collins sat at his desk, scrolling through the digital archives tied to the cleaner's past assignments. The cleaner's name had surfaced during the background checks conducted after the suspicious activity was flagged. A routine cross-reference that had unexpectedly revealed a connection to a case closed nearly 2 years earlier. That case involved a breach of protocol linked to an internal agent suspected of compromising evidence in a high-profile operation. Collins pulled up the original incident report, dated 18 months prior. The file showed that the cleaner had been contracted to sanitize a crime scene associated with Agent Mark Reynolds, an operative whose loyalty had come under question. The internal investigation at the time had stalled after key evidence went missing, and the case was quietly shelved. The cleaner's invoice and service logs matched precisely with the timeline of the compromised scene. Agent Ramirez, who had been assisting Collins, cross-checked the cleaner's service records against internal access logs. The cleaner had cleared the perimeter and cleaned up the scene within hours of Reynolds' unit securing the location. Notably, the logs indicated no supervisory presence during the cleaning, a deviation from standard procedure. Ramirez flagged this anomaly in her report. When the team convened for the briefing, Collins presented the findings. This cleaner isn't just a peripheral figure. He was engaged on-site during the Reynolds incident. Our records show he had unrestricted access without oversight, which contradicts our protocol. Agent Foster, who handled agency compliance, raised concerns immediately. Bringing this to light risks reopening a case we officially closed. We have to consider the implications for agency credibility if this leaks. Collins responded with the operational facts. The lack of oversight and the timing suggest a potential compromise. Whether intentional or not, this gap in procedure allowed for evidence tampering. Our current investigation hinges on understanding his role. Agent Lin, specializing in internal affairs, supported Collins. Ignoring this connection isn't an option. It points to a vulnerability in our chain of custody that could affect both cases. We need to audit all scenes cleaned by this individual. Discussion turned to the procedural risks. Agent Foster emphasized the damage control aspect. If we escalate, the media and oversight committees will question our internal controls. Our priority should be securing the facts discreetly. Ramirez proposed a controlled internal audit, limiting exposure. We can review all relevant cleaning contracts and cross-verify access logs within a closed loop. That would minimize leaks while ensuring thoroughness. The team agreed to proceed cautiously. A task force was assigned to reconstruct the cleaner's involvement across multiple cases, focusing on verifying adherence to protocols during each engagement. This included tracing who authorized the contracts, who supervised the cleaning crews, and whether any discrepancies in chain of custody reports existed. Collins documented the procedural gaps, noting that the cleaner's presence during the Reynolds case was a critical oversight. The team also outlined steps to tighten future protocols, including mandatory supervisory sign-offs and real-time monitoring of all crime scene cleaning operations. No decision was made to publicly disclose the link. The priority was containment and verification. The agency's Internal Affairs Division was tasked with parallel investigations, ensuring that any findings could be corroborated without compromising ongoing operations. By the end of the day, the tension was palpable but professional. Those advocating for full transparency recognized the risks but also the necessity of accountability. Others prioritized protecting ongoing investigations and the agency's operational integrity. The compromise was a phased approach. Gather incontrovertible evidence before deciding on disclosure or internal reform. The cleaner's role, once peripheral, had become central to understanding not only the current case but systemic vulnerabilities. The team's next steps would depend on the balance between procedural rigor and institutional risk management, navigating carefully through layers of internal policy and operational security. Following weeks of meticulous planning, investigators initiated the operation to apprehend the cleaner at a storage unit located on the outskirts of the industrial district. Surveillance had identified this location as the site where the cleaner maintained his tools and equipment. The unit's relatively isolated position minimized collateral exposure during the arrest, while its proximity to known transit routes allowed for rapid deployment of personnel. The surveillance team, comprising plainclothes agents equipped with body-worn cameras and covert audio recorders, maintained continuous observation of the unit for 5 consecutive days. They documented the cleaner's routine movements, including his arrival times, frequency of visits, and interactions with any associates. Tracking cell phone signals confirmed that the cleaner used disposable devices, but on 2 occasions, investigators intercepted brief communications linking these devices to a known burner phone number previously associated with payment transactions tied to the mansion incident. Timing the arrest was critical. Agents noted that the cleaner typically arrived mid-morning, spent approximately 2 hours inside the unit, and left without drawing attention. On the operation day, the arrest team positioned themselves strategically around the perimeter before the cleaner's scheduled arrival. Backup units were stationed within rapid reach, ready to intervene if necessary. At 9:45, the cleaner entered the storage unit. Agents initiated entry 5 minutes later, using a standard breach protocol to minimize risk. The cleaner was taken into custody without resistance. During the arrest, agents secured the unit, documenting the scene thoroughly with photographs and video recordings before beginning evidence collection. Inside, investigators found an array of tools consistent with professional cleaning and tampering: screwdrivers, pliers, wire cutters, and specialized devices for electronics manipulation. Notably, several precision screwdrivers were missing specific screws. Forensic analysis later confirmed these screws matched the unique thread pattern and alloy composition of the screw recovered from the mansion's compromised security panel. Additionally, the unit contained multiple small containers with assorted screws, fasteners, and electronic components, some partially disassembled. Investigators also seized several mobile phones, SIM cards, and electronic payment devices. The phones were subjected to immediate forensic imaging. Analysis revealed transactional data linking payments made to the cleaner's burner numbers with timestamps corresponding to the mansion break-in and related activities. Financial records indicated the cleaner received multiple deposits from accounts tied to intermediary entities connected to the central suspects under investigation. All physical evidence was cataloged and logged into the chain of custody protocol. Each item was assigned a unique identifier, sealed in tamper-evident packaging, and stored in evidence lockers under controlled access. The integrity of the chain was maintained through detailed documentation at every transfer point, ensuring admissibility in court. During initial interrogation, the cleaner was presented with the physical evidence, particularly the screw matching and payment records. His responses were brief and factual. When confronted with the screw analysis, he acknowledged possessing the tools but denied involvement in the mansion incident. Upon review of phone logs and financial transactions, he requested legal counsel, after which further questioning was paused. Subsequent interrogations focused on verifying his connections to the payment trail and the circumstances surrounding the equipment found in the storage unit. While he continued to deny direct involvement, discrepancies emerged between his stated movements and surveillance data. Under pressure of mounting evidence, the cleaner admitted to servicing the mansion's security system but maintained he acted under instruction, refusing to disclose his clients. The operation concluded with the cleaner formally charged, the evidence securely processed, and ongoing investigations aimed at identifying the higher-level coordinators. The seamless integration of surveillance, physical evidence, and digital forensics established a robust case, setting the foundation for prosecutorial action without compromise to procedural standards. The cleaner had built a long history of erasing crime scenes with exceptional precision, leaving almost no trace behind. For years, this individual operated unnoticed, systematically removing evidence that could link perpetrators to their crimes. Law enforcement struggled to connect these cleanups to a single person, as the cleaner's methods were thorough and meticulous. However, the case took a decisive turn due to one small mechanical failure. During the investigation of the latest crime scene, agents discovered a single screw that had fallen from a piece of the cleaner's equipment. This seemingly insignificant detail became the key to unraveling the mystery. The screw was carefully collected and sent to the forensic laboratory for analysis. Lab technicians examined the metal composition and manufacturing marks, which indicated it was a specialized part not commonly available. Further inspection of the cleaner's tools and equipment revealed the missing screw in a unique device used specifically for wiping down crime scenes. Matching the screw to this device allowed investigators to directly link the cleaner to the scene. This connection was supported by surveillance footage and digital evidence, which placed the suspect in proximity to multiple crime scenes around the time the cleanup operations took place. With this evidence, agents identified the cleaner and moved forward with an arrest warrant. The suspect was taken into custody without incident. Once in custody, the cleaner's involvement was confirmed as more physical evidence and forensic data tied him to several past crimes where evidence had vanished. This breakthrough closed a gap in ongoing investigations and strengthened the case against not only the cleaner but also those who orchestrated the crimes he helped conceal. The operation concluded with the cleaner charged and all evidence securely processed. Investigations continue focusing on uncovering the higher-level coordinators who relied on the cleaner's services. The combination of surveillance, physical evidence, and digital forensics has built a strong, uncompromised case ready for prosecution. If you found this breakdown interesting, please like the video and subscribe to Perfect Crimes Gone Wrong. Don't forget to check out more videos where we analyze other seemingly perfect crimes that ultimately failed.